What's the real story of El Cinco de Mayo? I'm John Deere, and today we talk about the real story of the popular holiday Cinco de Mayo. It's not what you think, and it's just the kind of twisted story we love. To start, Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day, which is on September 16th. To find out what Cinco de Mayo actually is, we have to go all the way back to 1861. When Mexico suspended interest payments on foreign loans because of their own struggling economy. Mexico's biggest creditors were France, the United Kingdom, and Spain, who decided to do something to force repayment. So these three great countries decided to send warships to blockade Mexico. They had the greatest militaries of the time, with the French the greatest amongst them. The only problem with this plan? The French, who were led by Napoleon Bonaparte III. Napoleon III was the nephew of the famous Napoleon Bonaparte, who had had his sights set on world domination. As it turns out, Napoleon III was a chip off the old block. So when these three great fleets arrived to blockade Mexico, Napoleon landed a substantial expeditionary force and began chasing the Mexican army away from the coast and taking control of Mexican territory. Spain and the United Kingdom wanted none of it, so they quickly left. Now, the United States wasn't happy about this either, but they had problems of their own. The Civil War had just broken out, and President Lincoln was concerned that if he helped Mexico, the French would decide to help the South. So Mexico got no help from us. Instead, they faced the French army alone, and the French army was the best army in the world. In 1862, the French army began chasing the Mexican army towards Mexico City with the idea of taking control of the country. However, the road to the Mexican capital went through the city of Puebla, which was guarded by two large Mexican forts. The French talked themselves into believing that because of Mexico's hard economic times, the people of Mexico would welcome them and would not support the small garrisons of Mexican soldiers manning these forts. So they attacked. The battle raged on, but the French had badly miscalculated. Like most countries being occupied by a foreign power, it doesn't matter what is happening at home. The Mexicans all fought together to repel the French. Despite France's vast military superiority, the Mexicans defeated them in Puebla. The French turned in retreat, chased by an emboldened Mexican army. The unexpected victory became a rallying cry for all of Mexico and was quickly declared a national holiday. However, the story doesn't end there. In the next town, additional French forces routed the Mexican army, and they marched on Mexico City and took control of the capital. In 1864, they brought in Maximilian, an Archduke of Austria that was a favorite of Napoleon, and installed him as Emperor of Mexico. Maximilian was a progressive who immediately tried to bring Mexico into modern times, passing child labor laws, restrictions on working hours, and an end to an oppressive system of serfdom. However, the French were still occupiers, and the Mexicans continued to fight them and were beginning to have victories throughout Mexico. At the same time, the United States Civil War was coming to an end, and the United States made its displeasure of the French occupation known. The North and South even considered reconciliation solely for the purpose of going to war with the French in Mexico. Under pressure from Mexican forces and American threats, the French decided to keep the peace with the US and withdrew in complete and utter humiliation. And that's the real story of El Cinco de Mayo. If you like this episode, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also check out our wonderful new blog at wownowiknow.com or our Facebook page, both of which are chock full of additional interesting stuff. I'm John Deere for Wow Now I Know, and as always, thanks for watching.